Hi, I'm Stacy.
And I am Mark, and this is the Gurus and Game Changers podcast.
So today, this is a good one. Look, whether you like it or not, we're getting older. And I got a pop quiz. Mark?
I am not getting older. Was that the question? Wait a minute.
Oh, Mark, I'll give you the pop quiz.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that adults over 70 worry about as they age? It's not cardiovascular disease.
Wow.
It's not cancer. What is it?
Regret.
Regrets?
Good answer. I love that. I don't know.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
It's falling down.
Falling down.
Falling down. So how
that.
can you make sure as you get older that you're strong and you're flexible and you feel good and you have a good quality of life? Well, today our guest is going to teach you how to do that. And she's going to talk about what she does at her studio to make sure that you're flexible as you get older and that you don't fall down.
Love it.
So please
Let's all
welcome
introduce
Kristin Sapp from Lotus Hot Fitness and
Welcome,
Yoga.
welcome.
Hi, Kristin.
Hi,
Thanks for
so
joining
happy
us.
to have you here.
Thank you for having
Studio
me.
audience
Thank
is
you for
happy to
your
see you.
lovely intro.
Absolutely. So we have known each other for a long time, obviously.
A very long time.
We've done yoga together for a long time.
We have.
So do you remember that conversation that we had in 2008, I think 15 years ago?
I do.
You told me what?
That I was going to have my own studio one day.
Wow.
And I do.
What made you want to do that?
Well, the story is actually pretty simple. You know, my mother invited me to go to a yoga class, and it's that simple. Like, she invited me to go to a yoga class, and I was visiting them in Florida, and I had little kids at the time. So we had my stepfather and my husband available to watch the kids. And so we went and took this yoga class. And it was fine. I was going with my mom to a yoga class. She was super excited about it. I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was hot yoga. And I took the class, and literally right after taking the class, I wasn't sure if I loved the class, but I knew I had done something
Why didn't you love
powerful.
the class?
Well, I mean, it's hot and it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
the first time you go, you don't know what you're doing. You're kind of a fish out of water. And as the day went on, I felt better than I had ever felt.
Wow.
Like
that
ever
day.
that day. So I
Interesting.
felt this sense of like relief and this sense of ease, and I felt good in my body. And I literally by later that day was like, I mean, whatever it was, I have to do it again. And we went back twice during that week. We were in Florida. We flew home on a Saturday. Sunday, I booked my first class at a local studio and just started going regularly. And actually, during that week in Florida, I looked up how to become a teacher.
Oh my gosh.
I looked up like studios around. It was just an immediate, like, if I can feel this good, I have to do this. Like, now I'm going to do this forever. I knew that right away. And then
That's
it was
incredible.
just like, how can I translate it into other areas of my life?
Well, I know you've said too that like it can save your life.
Yeah.
It can change your life, and it can increase your quality of life. So
For sure.
Can you tell people how and why?
Yeah. I think anytime you take time or make time to connect to yourself, you start to hear yourself, you start to listen to yourself, you start to see yourself, like you really start to see yourself and hear yourself. And then you start to live more in alignment with that, with who you really are. And I think, when I went and took that yoga class, I had a job that was a good job. I was working for my stepdad. It was a convenient job for having kids. I was happily married. I had lots of friends, but I was still like overwhelmed and didn't feel as good as I felt after that yoga class. I mean, that's like the best way to put it. People find yoga for all different reasons. Some people find it because they've got a major injury or chronic pain or something that they're living with that they're trying to fix. And I really wasn't trying to fix anything. And it still had this major impact on my life. So like when you talk about it can save lives, it definitely can, because it can make you healthier, and it can, I have students who have come off medication, who have lowered, all these different blood level tests. And so it can literally save your life. But I feel like for me, it saved my life in this other way, because it made my life so much better and richer. And I was able to have the capacity to enjoy it rather than be overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it can save your life in a lot of different ways. It can definitely change your life for sure. That's like the easiest part. It will have an effect on your life.
But why? Like, what is it about the modality?
It's a set sequence of postures. and they're done in a heated room. And the heat is the best tool we have for transformation. I mean, so you walk into the room and the heat causes your blood vessels to dilate, which is vasodilation. So already circulation's better. You start with breathing. You move through these postures, working deeper and deeper into the body. You move oxygenated blood through the body. You move your body through its intended ranges of motion and hopefully over time get back any range of motion that you've lost. And so you're really working in a physical way, the whole body, but that whole time you're having to focus and concentrate and breathe. And so you're connecting to your breath and you're taking all the things that swirl around
it's like
in
a
your
moving
mind
meditation, I think you
and
guys said.
calming that down
Yeah.
because you're really focused on what
Yeah.
you're doing. And when you're hot and uncomfortable and somebody's telling you what to do, you kind of can't be doing your Wegmans list in your head at the same time.
That is so true.
So it calms
Yeah.
everything down. And when you take time for that, it really does have a huge life-changing effect.
Is
Right.
it always the same
Always hard.
26 every
Yes.
time you
Mhm.
go?
It's the same
In the
26
same order?
in the same order.
Mhm.
Because I don't
So-
know anything about hot yoga. So it's kind
Yeah.
of fascinating to me.
So it's pretty cool
Yeah.
because originally I thought, which most people think, like that's going to get really boring really quick.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because like Stacey said, you're different every day. You feel different every day. And there's a couple things that happen. One, it's a great measure for like progress,
Mhm.
right? Because certain things I couldn't do.
hmm
It's not like, oh, I can't do it, but range of motion is
Right, right.
is less. And
Right.
over time, range
Better
of motion
form.
becomes more.
Sure. Or hold
And
it
so
longer.
you realize that your body's actually changing.
Right.
And when you have these same set postures, you can really sort of get into this little moving meditation. You know, you're not trying to figure out what's coming next and what you have
Yeah.
to do. You start to understand what you have to do, and it becomes this nice little escape from
See, that's
life.
That's the word, I think. I've always said that I work out a lot. And when I work out, I always say it's 100% for sanity and not for vanity.
Well, yeah, that's the other part. Yeah.
totally.
And
I
that's what
mean-
you're saying. Like you can't not focus on what you're doing, which means everything else is shut out for that hour.
Totally.
It's
And
a
you're,
little vacation.
you get really good information. So when you do the same postures over and over
Yeah.
and say, you know, I'll go in tomorrow and I didn't sleep well or I didn't have enough water, that's going to show up on my mat in how my
Oh,
practice feels.
Yes.
So the practice gives you information about every other thing you're doing in your life and how that's affecting you.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to drink more water. I need to sleep better. I need to eat good food. I need to,
Right.
and all those things start to take shape as you continue to practice because you want to feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As
So-
I'm in there, I'm always like, oh, I wish I would have eaten better. I'm going to do this better. I'm going to come to class tomorrow.
When I took this yoga class, like the ease that I found in my mind or the way it calmed any anxiety or overwhelm
Mhm.
was huge. Like I just could manage my day better. I felt better tackling the things that need to be tackled or handling the things that came at me. And so when I miss practicing for a few days in a row,
You're like
I
a
mean, I
caged tiger.
feel it. I feel
Yeah.
it mentally
Yeah.
much more than physically. And, you know, there was a time where if I missed it, my kids were like, go to yoga. Go to
Go,
yoga.
go.
You're nicer, you're happier. And really, it's kind of that simple. I am nicer and happier
Yeah,
when
of
I go to
course.
yoga. I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
get that. Believe me.
Yeah.
I
it's a
normally
transit.
drive there really cranky and drive home
Oh,
really,
nice.
really
Yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Totally.
I love it.
Yeah.
How,
totally,
how did you
definitely.
go from being you did the one class, you loved the class, you fell in love with that yoga.
Yeah.
So you wanted to do it more. You looked into becoming a practitioner.
Yeah.
But what characteristic did you have that led you to be the owner of a studio?
Yes, that's what I was trying to get
How
at.
do you make that leap?
Good question.
There's I know a lot of people that are certified to teach yoga, teach Pilates. They don't own their own studio. What is it about you that made that happen?
So a couple things. I started practicing regularly. I decided I would go to teacher training, which I did. And when I got back, I still had my job working for my stepdad. I was in sales. And at this point, I was working for him in his office part-time. And so I still had that job and I was teaching yoga. And I loved teaching yoga and I didn't so much like working the other job that I had. And I just thought, you know, if I'm going to work and be away from my kids during the day, it better be for something that I really love and something that's fulfilling and not just a paycheck. I mean, we needed the paycheck for sure. So I was working, but if I had an opportunity to do something that I really loved, I was definitely going to move in that direction. It took 3 years to get there because, you know, we had to save money and had to figure it out. So in the meantime, I was doing both jobs. I was still working the part-time job and teaching early mornings and late at nights and weekends and just kind of making it work. But
Wonderful.
I've always sort of accepted the challenge of whatever comes up. Like even being here today, I was like, oh, I'm a little nervous to be here, but okay, yeah, I'll do it. So I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like, how can you not take the chance? Like if you think you can, I don't know. There was something in me that just said, I think that you can do it. And so like, you have to try.
Now you have to try.
So I did.
Yeah. Now you have to try.
And
It's almost not even, it's out of your hands.
Yeah, it's out of our hands.
And totally.
And even like the training portion of this, like what you did, the training you did, isn't it like
it was long,
9 weeks? Like
the trainings are different now.
Yeah.
But at the time there was only one training and you had to go away for 9 weeks. And so my kids, I had 2 kids and they were little, they were 3rd grade and kindergarten at that time.
9 weeks.
And again, I don't know. I'm also a believer, like when you're moving in the right direction, things will fall into place. Not that you don't have to work at it or try, but the pieces kind of fall together, and the pieces kind of fell together for that. Like kindergarten and 3rd grade were both, the kindergarten was full day. So the kids would be in school all day. My husband was able to get them to school. My mom would come over after school and be there until Trey got home from work. And then they'd do it all again. His mom came and helped for a little while. You know, his brother came for a weekend. My sister certainly helped. Like everybody pitched in.
This is for 9 weeks.
2 classes a day. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. For me, that experience was really also life-changing because it pushed me physically to a limit that I had never been pushed to before. And I think you have to sometimes hit those limits in different areas to know, like, okay, I can do pretty much anything.
Did you meet Bikram? Was he at that, or
he was
there?
He was. Yeah.
Okay.
My training was really, really big. So we had like 310, I think, in my training. It was really big. But yes, he was there. Yeah.
What was your first impression
of him?
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the yoga so much.
Okay.
So I just wanted to learn everything I could learn. He's very much a showman, and puts on a very good show. There were lots of teachers. So I didn't have any I took classes from him, but a lot of the individual instruction was other teachers as well. My training was awesome. Like I value the experience of being pushed, and I gained so much out of it. I gained a lot of friends. I gained, like when you're in that experience of being fully immersed in something, I think it's just a really cool
pushes
thing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that led to the rebrand. So we were Bikram Yoga Exton.
Oh, I see.
And I think that gave the impression that we were a franchise, and we never were.
Right.
I've always been independently female-owned business, which I'm super proud of. And so as people would ask me that question, I realized that was something I wanted to make really clear. And I had been thinking about the rebrand, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was like, just hold on for dear life. And then finally we were able to do the rebrand. So now we are Orange Lotus.
How'd you get through the pandemic? Like,
that
because
was
so
really
many
tough.
Studios shut down, and
That was really tough. So in the years of being a studio owner, I've always wanted to teach yoga. I've always wanted to share the yoga with as many people as possible, because I want people to feel good. Like if it's this simple, we can show up and regularly take a class and we can feel this much better. Like I have to share that with people. I can't not. But also I don't know how to run a business, or I didn't know how to run a business at the time. And so I just, in my head, get the space, get open, teach yoga. And then it's like, oh my God, I'm running a business. I had to find help for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing in anything, is just finding the support system that you need. So I started aligning with other yoga studio owners. There's an Original Hot Yoga Association that I'm part of. And then I got a business coach. And so when the pandemic hit, those 2 things were in place. And because those 2 things were in place, I had this support system, or we all did.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of like, okay, it was like a Friday that everything shut down. I think we
March
learned
13th.
on Friday that it was going to close on Sunday or whatever. And so literally in that weekend, we're all talking to each other, figuring out, how do we get classes online? How can students sign up? How can they get the link to Zoom? How can they? And so, I don't know if I could have done it by myself, because the pressure was so big. And like,
I can't even
it's
imagine.
such a gut punch, first of all. And then the pressure of trying to flip a business to a new way. I don't know. It was so much, but that that support system is really what got me through that.
You did it. I practiced next to your mother. She's been there,
Yes.
and your sister.
Yes.
So how did your family sort of inspire you? And Trey, he's always in class. So how did everybody inspire you and support you through this whole business? Because as you said, like it really is the support you have.
Totally. Well, they've supported me in everything.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I mean?
wonderful.
I mean,
Yeah.
they really are like, we're a close family. My mom, my sister, Trey, they have always supported me. And when I went to teacher training, I think that was a really important lesson for my kids, because it was, I mean, 9 weeks is a long time. And I
Yeah.
got a lot of like, oh, you're going away, like you're leaving your
Right.
kids for 9
That's
weeks,
a
which,
lot.
you know, as a mother, that feels horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also knew I was leaving them with people who really loved them
Yeah.
and were going to
Yeah.
care for them. And I think ultimately the lesson that it showed is that when they want to do something, we're going to have their back too.
Right.
You know, like we're going to all rally around somebody who has a
Oh,
dream and
that's
try to
cool.
help them get there. And when it's your turn, we'll all rally around you. And my mom, my sister, they've all done that kind of my whole life.
Yeah,
So
they're
this was no
awesome.
different. This was just an extension of that.
How were you raised like to become Kristin Sapp?
To become
that's a good
Kristin
question.
Sapp.
I
That's
like
a
it.
really good
Becoming
question.
Kristin
I'm like,
Sapp.
I was raised by two really wonderful people, you know, who were close to their families too. So family's always been sort of like a cornerstone of everything. We were close to my dad's family. We were close to my mom's family. We spent time with cousins and aunts and uncles. And so there was always this big kind of family support system in place. My dad died when I was 16. So my mom really stepped up and kept all of those family support systems in place for us, extended family support systems on both sides in place for us, and always, you know, supported my sister and I at the same time, which was a really big job.
That's huge.
She did a
Yeah.
good job.
You have a younger sister. Who
I do.
It turns out I know,
Yes.
which I've known for a while. I didn't know the
Hi,
connection, which
Debbie.
is really kind of
Hopefully she's
fascinating.
watching.
Very accomplished, very professional, very driven. I know a lot about her. I respect her. I like her a lot. Clearly, you're accomplished. You're driven. Is there ever a rivalry as you went through life?
Good question.
Did you feed off
No,
of
that
each
is
other?
a good question. I think we were far enough apart in years that there wasn't, and we had different interests.
Interesting.
So maybe if we had been like playing the same sport or going
Stealing
after
each
the
other's
same
clothes, nothing.
Yeah.
You never fought.
I mean, I'll say no. She might say yes.
So you're smiling now, like you're always smiling every time I walk in the studio. Like, tell me, there's got to be a day when you're like, "F this." I'm sorry. I mean, like forever who's watching, who's
Of
gone into the
course.
studio, like, how do you do that though? How do you walk in and smile when maybe there's a day when you're just, you know,
I mean, I do
sad and you
yoga.
have to be there.
like literally, and that's the good and the bad part. But
Yeah.
that is the practice in my life
Mhm.
that allows me the bandwidth for everything else I do, without a doubt. So like every morning, well, almost every morning, I take a class. Sometimes it's afternoon, depending on the class
7 days a
schedule
week?
and the teaching. 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do try to take at least one day totally off. But that's the foundation for everything. So like Monday, Wednesday, 9:30, I'm in a yoga class. Like Tuesday at 4:30, Thursday at 4:30, I'm in an IHP class. Saturday morning, I'm in a yoga class. Sunday morning, I'm in an IHP class. And those times on my calendar don't change. I don't.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "Can you do something at that time?" No, I can't. And I hold that practice
It's great.
really, really sacred, because it does allow me to keep
Mhm.
doing what I'm doing. And, you know, self-care in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, coaches who have my back and help pick me up when I'm having a bad day or whatever, family. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, you have to have your support systems in place, because it is hard. It is
Yeah.
hard. I mean, there were times like before I had a business coach, before I had the connections with other studio owners, where I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
You know, I mean, I really didn't.
I get
you know, like
that.
I'm doing it the best that I can,
Yeah.
but I really didn't know what I was doing. And so that can be really overwhelming. And so reaching out and getting that support, I think, is a big deal, because there's a moment of, I don't want to admit that I've taken on a job that I can't do.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
Yes.
You know, it's a really, that's a hard moment to
Mhm.
sit with yourself and say, okay, I've started this. I know it can go somewhere. And I'm willing to kind of do anything, but I don't know what the anything is. Like, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
So when I think you put those support systems in place or get the help you need at that moment, it makes a huge difference. Everything comes second. right? You just have to get it off the ground. But now we're at a really good place. Like I have a really nice team in
We
place.
do.
It's like the best team I've had ever. And I've had really good people along the way, but this one
Yeah.
is just like amazing.
Mhm.
Great desk help. So we're in a really nice place right now.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you. Our mission is to provide an opportunity for people to experience personal growth and feel amazing through our powerful hot yoga and
Yeah.
fitness classes. And at the end of the day, our vision is for people to have the confidence and power to live the life they want. Because I think a lot of us get stuck in this safe zone or like doing what you think you should do.
Sure.
And so I think the more time you spend on your mat and connecting to yourself, the more you can live the life you really want to live.
How does it impact your day from a productivity standpoint?
I'm more productive if I practice, for
If you
sure.
go? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time out of my day. So I think that's where I think
Yeah.
that's a really big,
Good
a
point.
really important thing to talk about, because I think people think if I take this time out of my day, I'm losing these hours and I'm not going to be
Right.
productive. But I think if we really talk about productivity, like how hardcore focused productive can anyone be for any amount of time? I think it's, I'm sure there's research on it and I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but like for me, I can spend 8 hours at my desk or I can spend 4 hours at my desk and I'll probably get done about the
Mhm.
same thing. So if I do like a physical practice first, that's got my mind focused and got my body calm, and then I sit there for 4 hours and crank it all out, it's for me often better than if I had sat there
Sure.
for 8 hours,
Yeah.
kind of,
Sure.
half in and half out.
I have a healthy fear for what you guys have been describing.
Yeah. It's
That's okay.
you
You're going
get
to come to a
sweaty.
class.
You
You'll
should
love
really
it.
come to a
I'm
class.
sure it would
I think
break
you would
me.
really love it.
I would
No, I
love
think
it,
you
but
would
it would
love it.
absolutely break me.
But see, the thing
But it
is,
actually
I've seen
won't.
it.
It won't. Because really you do what you can do on that
Yeah,
day. And I
yeah.
think that's another thing. Like people get afraid because it's hot and they hear that it's hard, but it's kind of as hard as you want it to be,
Right. You control your
or
intensity.
as not intense as you want
Right.
it to be. You can really control that.
But I can't control me. So
that's
I
what I'm
would.
thinking. So I
But
think
that's what you'll
true.
learn to control.
And I think the people
That's the problem.
the people who buckle are the ones who push
Yeah.
in their first class, and they don't like. I think it's hard
it's so
because
hard.
we're sort of all type A people
Yeah.
to kind of like say, okay, I'm going to step back, like on
Totally.
a day when I don't feel that good.
So when you're having all of those challenges at once and watching yourself, it's actually a really powerful thing, because the more you do that, the more you're going to develop compassion for yourself. Back to your pop quiz at the beginning.
Yeah,
People falling, it's huge.
it is huge.
It's huge. And that can really be the precursor to the ending of
Sure.
somebody's life. So
Quality of life.
if you can balance and you're strong and you have this range of motion, I mean, that's everything.
What's the oldest person you have?
77.
77.
Yeah.
And how about the youngest? They come in their 20s?
Youngest, like late teens, early
Late
20s.
teens, yeah.
Yeah. That is a long time and a hot time for the kids to be in there. I'm not saying that it's bad for them. I'm saying that it's, they're used to their attention being really occupied by phones and video games and things like that. So to be quiet and still for 90 minutes is a long time.
That's asking a lot. That's asking a lot of an adult.
It is. We always recommend people practice 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, honestly, the answer is however often works for your life. Like people have different schedules and different responsibilities. And so consistency is more important than frequency. If you can only go once a week, go once a week, but do it regularly. And that's how you build a pattern that's going to be effective and you're going to feel the benefits. But 2 to 3 times a week is great.
I have a healthy fear and a healthy respect for yoga,
You're afraid
In general?
let alone hot yoga, because I've seen it and I've tried. At the end of some of the stuff that I do, you try a couple poses, and I'm the most inflexible person on the planet. But that doesn't matter. I know I can get to the pose that
That's-
I can achieve.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's why you go to yoga.
I have seen the changes in your studio over the last 12 years, and it is beautiful. It is clean. It is fun. It's like, like you have these cool contests and these things that you do. And
Yeah.
what's the next thing?
Well, I'm always trying to evolve. I think I was a little afraid of that at first. Like I found my one thing and I was just going to do my one thing. And it's been really fun the past few years to add other modalities and evolve. And I think that will continue to happen. I mean, the yoga is the foundation for me. That's like the practice that I would never, ever give up. So that's there. That's not going anywhere.
Right.
But we've added some really awesome, fun new classes. And we have a new one starting in January, Inferno Sculpt. That's the one with the weights.
Yeah.
So, like I said, our mission is to help people. And so when I bring in a new class, it has to align with my mission and my vision, and it has to keep providing the benefits and results the classes that we currently have. And so I think you'll just continue to see more of that.
That's awesome.
Hopefully we keep growing and growing.
I just want to say, like, this has been such a wonderful thing for me in my life. Thank you for opening your studio.
Thank you.
We're going to get Mark in there.
Yeah.
Right?
I promise.
We're going to get Mark in there.
Can we edit that?
Oh, wait, you promised?
Come
Thank
take
you
a class.
so much.
Come take
You
a
guys
class.
will love
Take a
it.
class. Try it. Don't be scared.
Don't
It's
be
easy.
scared. Don't be scared.
Be very afraid.
Yeah. Do not be scared.
Thank you.
I can't wait till you
Kristin.
come to class. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's great.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for
Bye.
joining us.